Spirit said, I'm speaking to a collective that just went through a breakup. Yeah. You just signed, sealed, and delivered those divorce papers to yourself. It's giving separation with your old self. You finally walked away. You finally chose to abandon ship because you realized that old version of you that's played out. That wasn't the real you, right? Self-sabotaging Sarah, salty Sally, fearful Freddie, negative Nancy. All of those parts of you were learned. It's given that inner critic, right? That's always feeding you these lies. You had to break up with these people. Being yourself. Being old versions of you. We've all encountered that inner critic, right? You're affirming yourself. I'm powerful. I'm abundant. I'm the first millionaire and billionaire in my family. I can do that thing. And then you hear this little voice that says, no, you can't. Who do you think that you are? Yeah, this is not just coming from other people. Sometimes that is coming from yourself. It's that part of you that didn't believe that you could do anything. It's that part of you that doesn't think that anything is possible because that's what you were taught. It's given like this little personality that was created from social conditioning. Okay? Based on what was happening in the world, based on your family's beliefs. All of these limiting beliefs has created this little inner critic that's just so negative. So every time you go to try to do something, you pep yourself up. Next thing you know, you're hearing this little voice of doubt, of insecurity, of fear. Girl, you know you can't do that. Right? We've all had that friend. They're cynical about everything. Well, you know, if you do this, then this is going to happen. Well, you know that most people that do that, they don't make money. Right? Sometimes this comes from inside of you. It's not just about you defeating other people. They're just reflections of you. They're mirrors of you. It's about you defeating yourself, which is why, like I said, it's time for you to part ways with those versions of yourself completely. Cut ties. Okay? It's given, hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back. No more, no more. Right? You have to set healthy boundaries with yourself when you're stepping into a new identity. Because understand, that old self, it will try to creep up. It can be very sneaky. Okay? It's giving you compromising your values. You lowering your standards when you know what you deserve. You repeating old patterns. You accepting things that you know that you shouldn't be accepting anymore because you're abundant now. And those things are coming from lack. That old version of you, that old thing, right? They used to tell you that you deserve the bare minimum, that you had to settle, that you weren't worthy of the best. We're talking about you against you. That's the only person you've ever been in competition with. You. That's the only person that you've ever been trying to truly overcome or defeat. Because once you can quiet those voices, all the rest of them don't matter. But understand those outside voices, when you believe those, it's because you're believing that inner voice. Once you stop believing those lies that you were telling yourself, you will no longer entertain the lies and projections of other people. Okay? It's like somebody coming up to you and calling you a different name, and you know that's not your name. But if you're not sure what your name is, maybe you have amnesia, right? So now you're questioning, is that my name? But when you know your name, nobody can tell you who you are. I'm seeing that movie Split. You know, the movie where he has all of these different personalities? Yeah, thank you, Spirit. That was you. And all of this was learned. All of this was conditioning from society, from your family, from traditions, I'm hearing, from churches, from trauma. So you learn to be this version of yourself that you actually thought was you, when all the time it was a lie. It was a facade. But I'm speaking to a collective that's finally ready to take off the mask. I'm hearing you're ready to rip off the scarf. So maybe you're somewhere that's cold, right? But Spirit said you're finally facing the truth. You're finally seeing yourself clearly. You're seeing your worth. You're recognizing your true value. And you're realizing that you don't owe any loyalty to those old versions of yourself. Not to say that you should hate them. Let them go with love and compassion, because understand that it was ego. These were identities that were learned. Like I said, you were conditioned. You were indoctrinated. But it's time for you to fully break up. Cut the cords. Okay? I'm hearing survivor's remorse. So many of you, you felt guilty when you left those parts of yourself behind. You felt as though you had to be loyal to these parts of yourself, that you had to hold on to this story. Thank you, Spirit. I don't know if you hear that airplane overhead, but Spirit said, you're moving on up, baby. You're ascending to your true self, your higher self, right? Is being integrated. I'm hearing so is your shadow, because all of it is one. All of it is necessary. But that shadow is teaching you where you were abandoning yourself, where you were allowing people to use you and to abuse you. I'm hearing that shadow is the part of you that stood up for you. So don't shun it. All of it is necessary, even the ego. But I'm talking to a collective that is reteaching their ego. Your ego is relearning how to show up in society, how to show up in the world. Okay? It's giving news flash. You already done let it know that wasn't me. That's no longer how I operate. That's no longer how I think. It's giving realignment. So this is why, just like in a relationship, when you two are no longer getting along, when you're no longer really seeing eye to eye, right? When you realize that you don't have anything in common, you break up. I'm hearing, let it be a clean break. Don't hold on to any guilt or any shame about the things that happened or transpired. Just cut the cords with love and understanding of why you used to think like that or act like that or allow those things, right? Because you were taught that was okay, that was how you should be treated. But I'm speaking to a collective that went through an identity shift. Yeah. You're on a completely different timeline. You barely even recognize yourself. It's given, let me reintroduce myself, right? To yourself. Which is where you're reintegrating the ego based on not outside conditioning, but based on who you are and what you know, what you've learned. You're no longer letting other people dictate how you show up in the world. You realize that there is no manual for how you should live your life. You are the manual. You are the compass. And so you're finally letting go of these old versions of yourself, of these old stories. Because understand, those old versions are tied to old stories. I grew up in the hood. My family was impoverished. I always get cheated on. I don't have any good friends. There's no good people in the world. Blah, 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 blah. All these stories that you fed your subconscious that were creating your reality, you're breaking up with them. You're dissolving. I'm hearing you're annulling that contract, that agreement. And Spirit is so proud of you, honey. Your ancestors are so proud of you. Spirit also wanted me to mention, when it comes to standing up for yourself, because yes, I'm speaking to a collective that was bullied. There were people that tried to humble you. Okay? This happened in your family. This happened in friend groups. This happened at work. There are people that tried to humble you. Understand, all of this stuff is spiritual. You can't turn your spirituality off just because you're going to work. It still applies. So you're even being tested in the workplace. What you allow, how you allow people to treat you, to talk to you, to perceive you. Well, you can't really control their perception, but more so how you respond to their perceptions, to their treatment. Spirit said, I'm speaking to a collective that no longer needs to focus on being Mr. Nice Guy or Mrs. Nice Guy. You've let go of the people pleasing. So don't feel guilty when you have to put people in their place. Okay? Don't be afraid to maintain healthy boundaries, to command and demand respect. And Spirit said, also understand that you're a mirror. You don't have to be over nice and overzealous, is what I'm hearing, to people who are rude to you. Okay? If somebody is rude to you, understand you're going to get the back of my hand. You're a mirror. So all of that conditioning of you have to be nice to people, throw that out. You be nice to people that are nice to you because you're a mirror. You're actually teaching them a lesson. So say somebody disrespects you and you just kind of brush it off. You just, deal with it. You don't take up for yourself. That person is going to go and do it to somebody else. Okay? So when they come across you, it's given you met the right one. You putting them in their place is teaching them a lesson, which is that, baby, the world doesn't revolve around you. You need to respect people. So it's giving speak up. Because, yeah, I'm speaking to a collective who I've heard has gone through humiliation rituals. And I'm seeing this happen even in family dynamics. Okay? Authority figures that were abusing their power. Right? And so you felt as though your voice was muffled. As though you didn't have the right or the space to speak your truth. To speak against injustices. Because even though they were authority figures, you knew that some of the things they were doing and saying were not right. And child discipline is coming up as a big one. Because so many people don't realize how scarring that was. For those of us that went through that, getting whipped like slaves. And even though your parents may have had good intentions, it still doesn't take away the pain and the hurt and the humiliation that it caused you. And most of them won't take accountability. That's okay. Don't worry about it. As long as you know that you didn't deserve that. Okay? As long as you know that that wasn't right. So that you don't perpetuate the same cycle with your children. That's the most important thing, is so that you can learn the lesson and don't allow that to continue on. Is 111. 111 on the clock right now. New beginnings. Yeah, wow. This is a new you. It's a new beginning. Everybody is going to have to be reintroduced to this version of you. And I don't want you to lower your standards. I don't want you to diminish your light. I want you to shine so brightly that you blind their darkness. Okay? Because you, my love, you irritate people's demons. And by demons, I mean their envy, their jealousy, their lack of self-worth, lack of self-love. When you show up, it reminds them that they don't love themselves. Right? Because you refuse to dim your light. Therefore, they have no power over you. Because that was a power play. Those people around you getting you to dim your light, telling you that you're too much. Always trying to downplay you, your talents, your gifts. That was an attack. They wanted you to have low self-esteem. Because when you were down, that made them feel up. They're sick. Understand that. But Spirit said, you're a mirror. So if somebody is mistreating you, I'm thinking of that phrase, kill them with kindness. Nah, not always. Not always. Sometimes you have to speak your truth. Sometimes you got to take up for yourself. Okay? You got to put people in their place to let them know, I am not the one, nor the two. You better go over there and play with somebody else. God is not weak. So why would you think that you will have to be weak? God does not bow down to anybody. So why would you think that you have to bow down to these people? Grovel at their feet. Okay? No. No. You continue to be a mirror. When people treat you good, you treat them good. When people treat you bad, you get the back of my hand. Or the middle finger. You choose. Right? Because I'm going to be a mirror. I'm going to reflect back to you what it is that you're putting out there. You put good energy out into the world, you get good energy back. You put negative energy out into the world, you're going to get a negative experience. Okay? So, my love, remain balanced is what I'm hearing. Remain balanced. Because there's many people who can't wait to take your kindness for weakness. That's right. So you stand on business. Don't be afraid to be too loud. Okay? Who cares if people like, oh, yeah. You should be scared. You should be intimidated. You're not going to get that version of me if you do right by me. Okay? So as long as you come correct, you don't have to worry about that, right? But it's those people that love to cross your boundaries, those are the ones that's like, yeah, I'm not the one, nor the two, and neither are you, collective. I love you, and congratulations. Welcome to the big leagues.